This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
It's the Ramble. It's Alex. It's another week. So let's get going. Here we go. Up to Worcester, Massachusetts. Up to Steve Kravitz. Up to... How's your tooth doing? Oh, what did they do?
They added his tooth to my partial.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So now... Wait a minute. They added a tooth to your partial.
Right.
So you have a partial up there, right? You click it in every day or something?
Yeah.
Okay, but you have some on the bottom, too.
The bottom, I have full dentures.
Oh, I see. And up above, you have a partial.
Right.
But that's not permanently there. You have to take it out at night, right?
Right.
Well, your glass is getting quite full.
Yeah, no kidding.
Which means you're a very positive person because you're...
My glass is half full.
Your glass... No, it's not half full. It's really full.
It's 3/4 full.
Are you getting used to the dentures?
A little bit.
This is what old people talk about. So how your dentures doing?
Right. How you eating?
Yeah, I don't go for dentures. I pay the real big bucks and I get the
implants.
Oh yeah, because I don't want an area missing. Like I may have to lose this one here. So I think.
Right.
They're having some problems with it, and if I do, it's going to be empty there for a while. But then I'll have I'll have them definitely put one in. If it was like a really back tooth, I probably wouldn't do it. You know.
Right.
But with you, it's like the front. You know.
Right.
So, but you look good now. You look smile. There we go. See, he's got a full smile and everything's fine. And the only problem is every night he has to take them out and put them in a jar.
Well, that's the life. That's the life.
Well, let me ask you, since this is an old people show anyway, we get old people calling it, we get old people watching it, you know, so we should talk about some of the stuff about getting older. What is your denture cleanser of preference?
Oh, just a generic one from CVS.
The generic one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got a gig on Friday.
You had or are gonna have?
Have.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this Friday.
Where?
VFW post.
Oh, really? Well,
right.
You got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. That's right.
How did you get that?
Through a friend.
Through a friend. Oh, okay.
Right.
What did he say? I know this VFW post that needs people.
I know this guy who books a VFW post, and maybe I can get you in, and he got me in.
Yeah, well, you know, don't, I guess you're limited to the material you can do, but you never did political anyway, right?
No.
So how long has it been since you've gone on a stage and done your comedy?
Since 2018.
Actually, it's a stupid question of mine because the stage is where you usually do your comedy.
There you go. Let's clarify things.
2018.
Right.
So we're talking 4 years.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember the material?
Some of it. I remember the gist of the bits. I just hope I remember the jokes that go in between the bits.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you
tell a story, and then there's jokes on the way to the punchline. Yeah. There's those jokes that fill in the bit.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping I remember all the little nuances.
Well, what I would do is emotionally think Borscht Belt.
Right.
You know. But I mean, for instance, I often said this, that the important thing for a comedian to do is to have a great first line in your act.
Right.
Something that brings people into your world.
Right. That's what I'm trying to decide, is what to open up with.
Yeah. What did
Do
you?
I open up with baseball? Do I open up with Jesus? Do I open up with relationships? What
Mhm.
do I open up with?
Let me see here. Let me think about it for a second. I would say with that crowd, baseball.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
That's what I'm thinking.
did you always have it when you were doing your act in your earlier career? Did you have a first line, something you did at the top of the act in order to get people to draw them into your world?
Well, it was more like a judgment act, whereas I knew which direction to go in. I would do a line, and then I would feel out the audience. It would like, can I go this way or can I go that way?
Okay, all right.
So it was like a line I threw out there just to get a feel of the audience more than them getting a feel of me.
Hmm. Because Bub's line always has been, somebody stole my identity and now they have no life.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and that sets up who he is. It really does.
Right.
You know.
Right.
What I said is that a comedian has to do, and this is what I learned observing, because I never was a stand-up comic. Although I have gotten up on a stage and done a couple of minutes for one reason or another in front of a friendly audience, so I could get away with it.
Right. A very friendly audience.
Yeah, I mean, because I could pull stuff about the radio show and jokes, and I had already established who I was on the radio,
Right.
so when I got on stage, I could get them to laugh. But I always said that beginning, that first thing you do, is the most important, because what you're doing as a comedian is you've got a certain take on life, right?
Right.
And you've got to educate them early in the act as to what
Well,
that.
I'm thinking of my opening. I'm going to say, where are my baseball fans? I love baseball. Baseball is the only sport you can take a nap and miss nothing.
Good. Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to open up with.
That establishes you. That establishes your attitude, But what it is, I said, the job of a comedian is that you're creating this alternative world, right?
Right.
And now you're bringing them into it. Robin Williams had to do that. Larry Bubbles Brown. Every comic I knew had to kind of do that. They couldn't just go on stage and just dive into their material without first saying to the audience, "Here's who I am."
Right. And here's a joke. I'm a professional comic. Here's a joke.
Right. So they paying you a lot of money for the VFW gig?
No. But that's all right. It's a gig.
How much?
A gig's a gig.
Can I ask how much is no?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm doing it for free.
Okay. Well, you got to get on a stage.
Right. I want to get stage time, and I want to get a little recognition in the area.
See, I was talking to Slayton last week. Okay.
Right.
And he's quit the business. He's just quit. I know that sounds terrible, doesn't it?
Right.
Because we all look at Bobby and say, "Hey, he's one of the greatest comics that ever was."
Right.
And all of a sudden, he's not going to be doing that any longer.
Did he say why?
Because he said there are a number of reasons. COVID, first of all, kind of killed the clubs for a while.
Right.
But he said
For a
now that
long
he's gone
while.
back to them, the clubs won't take him. Either because of the material he does or because he's too old.
Right.
And the other day I was talking to him, not doing an interview, and he said, by the way, you said something in the interview that we did. He says, and it holds true for me too. I said, what? He said, you said that you had been you had been retired. You didn't retire. You'd been retired. And he
So have I. I've been retired.
Yeah, he said the same things happened to me. He said, he can't even go back to the Punchline in San Francisco anymore.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he says it's they don't want to pay the money, or they don't want. It's one thing or another, and he said, and I made that club.
Right.
And he did. He was the guy who put it on the map.
Right.
And me. I mean, for him to be turned down by the Punchline is amazing. I mean,
It's ridiculous.
the Punchline, at least a couple of times a year, wanted to have him headline their clubs, maybe 4 times a year, because
Right, and he would pack the place.
packed the place, and I think he still would.
So do I.
But I mean, there are younger comedians; they work cheaper,
Right.
right? And they say, well, they relate more to the audience that's coming in now, because let's face it, Slayton is an old Jewish comic.
Yeah, but he would bring in his own crowd. I mean,
think-
Slayton's got enough recognition, at least in the Bay Area, to bring in his own crowd.
Well, it's like saying Louis Black is an old Jewish comedian, or
Right.
Any number of people, and it's not true. It's not the the way to do things. So, but anyway, he says it's getting more and more difficult. He says I won't play colleges because all they'll do is boo me.
Right.
Because they're so politically correct. Because I mean, Slayton has one of those acts which, if you've never seen it, folks, is he goes after Chinese people. He goes after women. He goes after
everybody.
Goes after everybody. He's not an insult comic. I wouldn't call him that, but his material goes after everybody. So anyway, it's just. I mean, like you go to a Chinese guy and say, did I just say something?
Right.
Lines like that. And he was brilliant. He was just brilliant. And it just, I told him, I said, it breaks my heart because it's kind of like Jascha Heifetz, the world's greatest violinist, saying, I'm never going to play the violin again.
Right.
What? You're not going to play the violin again? Are you nuts? So it's kind of sad. I don't know if it's a permanent thing on his part, because nothing's ever permanent with Bobby. But it's not easy, and especially for a guy your age. I mean, they're going to look at you at a club, and they asked you for an audition tape.
Right. How ridiculous is that?
Well, I mean, come on. How many movies have you made? How many clubs have you played in your lifetime? And they want an audition tape? They should say, hey, you're a pro. Come on, do your act here. Or come on over, and on Monday we'll put you on, and let's see what you do.
Right, exactly.
Like I always thought audition tapes sucked. I could never do an audition. I was terrible at auditioning. If you wanted to audition me, have me send you an audition tape for a radio job, you'd listen to the thing and you just go, huh?
Right.
And what would happen is, people would say to me, well, would you like to come and do a day on the air here and see how you are? And I said,
right.
No, I'll do a week.
There you go. Exactly.
I said, because Monday you're going to hate me.
Right.
I said, Tuesday you're going to begin to wonder. By Wednesday you're beginning to say, guy ain't bad. And by Friday they're going, how much do you want to work here?
Right.
And that was always the case with me. And I did that in San Francisco with KMEL. I said, give me a week. And the first day they said, do we want to do the rest of the week with this guy?
Right.
And by the end of the week, they offered me a job.
Right.
So unfortunately, that's the same thing that happened to me in Florida, where I went down for a week, and by the end of the week, they offered me a job. And I took it because I needed it, because I was out of work at the Live 105. And then I had to go down to Miami, which was the worst experience of my life.
Why is that?
Oh, God. I mean, there is, I keep going and mentioning this often on this show. There is a prevailing attitude, or there was at the time in Miami, of just solid 100% meanness. It was just, the people there were mean.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I've never seen it like that. I talked about it the other day. I talked about, I think, the Bubbles in a thing I did with him the other day, that I went down there, and the guy who went on after me was the most popular talk show host in all of Miami. He had been there for years. He'd been number one. He was making like $500,000 a year. He was.
Oh, really?
He was king of the beach. Okay. And I go in there and I start doing my show, and he starts putting me down on his show. saying this guy sucks. When's he going to leave? Is this station? And I hope the station doesn't hire him. Blah 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 blah. You know, and they hired me because they wanted to kind of put him in his place a little bit.
Right.
You know, it was, you know, when you go to a radio station, you expect that the people across town are going to say you suck.
Right.
Okay, but the people who work around you are there to support you because they're there to support the entire station. And you say,
That's right.
have you heard this
That's
new
right.
guy, Alex? He's terrific. This guy didn't do that. And
Not very professional of him.
on top of it, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something that would endear you for the rest of my life, your life, is if I had saved your life.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
No matter what you thought of me before I saved your life, how would you feel about me?
Sure. I get it.
Okay, so I'm at this station this one morning, going to work, and he was on before me. Excuse me, he went on before me, not after me. He went on before me, and I walk into the studio, and we go into a commercial break, and he says to me, "Last night I couldn't sleep, and my arm was hurting." He said, "I wonder what that is." I said, "What that is maybe it's a heart attack."
Right.
I said, "I would immediately stop the show now, have somebody else do it, get yourself to your doctor." And sure enough, he had had a heart attack.
Oh, really?
Yes. And they were able to then pump him full of all kinds of stuff and everything like that. And he survived and lived. He lived another, I don't know, 15 years or so.
Okay.
And I saved his life. Do you
Right.
think that prevented him from putting me down?
No.
No, made my life a living hell. You know, so it that's the kind of town it was. And wasn't just these people that I was working with. There was a team that worked after me that was double teaming him in just giving me a bad time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
What did the station manager have to say about all this?
he wasn't happy about it, but you know, this was his star.
Right.
And these were some guys who were already there, so he had to play like, you know, be the UN,
Right.
you know. But then I got pulled over coming out of work. We was on a causeway. I got pulled over by the police.
For what?
Tell me, get out of the car. I get out of the car. They then start really scaring the crap out of me, because now another police car pulls up and they got a police dog who gets out with his guy snarling at me.
Okay.
Would that terrify you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm shitting my pants now. I don't know what the hell. What, you going to give me a ticket for going too fast? Isn't this a little out
A
of
little
line?
over the top.
A little over the top? No, well, you know, I went nuts on this deal. I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't take it. All right?
Okay.
And it was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. And it turned out finally that the reason they pulled me over is they said, "We hear you have bad things to say about the police department."
Really?
Yes. And I said, and they were lying in wait for me. Okay. I said, "No, I've never talked about the police department," which I hadn't. They said,
Right.
"Well, we got a call that you did." What? You just got a call and you're doing this because you just got a call?
Right.
And they said, "Okay, well, we're giving you a ticket for not having Florida license plates," because I still had my Texas license plates.
Okay.
No, it was California license plates. And I said, "I think I'm going to get out of," and then I thought to myself, "I'm going to get out of this town before I have to put a Florida license plate on this car."
Right.
You know, and that was enough for me. I mean, I was terrorized. I went home, told my girlfriend who was living with me at the time, I said, "We're packing up. We're getting out of here by tomorrow." And I went into
Right.
the radio station and I said, "I quit. You know, that's it." You know, and I left. You know.
I don't blame you.
And for the next 5 years, this guy that went on before me was still putting me down. You know, I mean, I didn't have a chance. Didn't have a
Right.
chance. So tell me, I'm supposed to have a wonderful, warm, and fuzzy feeling about a station where that happens.
Right,
You know?
right, right.
And so that's why I hate Florida. It just was horrible, you know. And then it's a bunch of people waiting to get into a restaurant at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the early bird special.
Well, it's old people and their parents.
You know what? I did pass by. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it now. I mean, people would be able to call me up from Miami and tell me exactly what the restaurant was. But they were all lined up, and all of a sudden, I passed by it, and there's an ambulance. And they're hauling somebody into the ambulance, and all I could think of is that one of the people in line was probably thinking, "Oh, now there's a place for us."
Right,
You know?
right.
And I then wondered how many ambulances show up to this place every single day, because it was the place everybody went for the 4 o'clock early bird special,
Right.
which I don't understand eating at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you?
No, me neither.
In fact, before I married Marjorie, I couldn't think about eating before 6 o'clock at night. Now we eat at
Right.
5:30.
Okay.
That's almost acceptable.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But really, I never used to eat dinner till 10 o'clock at night when I lived in New York, because none of the good restaurants were open before like 9.
Right.
You know the place, where was it? Was it Spain? Yeah, Spain. They don't serve dinner till 10 o'clock at night in restaurants.
Is that right?
What it is they have this wonderful thing in Spain, which I'm sure you've heard of, called siesta.
Yeah, right.
Now, siesta, I think, socially was the greatest idea ever. And what the idea was, excuse me, I'm belching here. What it was a thing where you went home in the afternoon between, it started about 12:30 and went till about 4, okay? Maybe 1 to 4, something like that. 1 to 4:30, I think it was, okay, was siesta. And it was originally intended that, we take a break during the heat of the day,
Right.
okay, which was very wise, and you can go home and fuck your wife, right?
I want to take a nap.
When you first get up, you don't have the energy, and late at night, you're at a lower ebb, but at that time of day, you're at the peak of your sexual abilities.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so really it was set up so you could go home and fuck. That's really what it was. Yeah. And
Good idea.
And I enjoyed that. But what people did with it was they would hold parties in the afternoon, and people would come over and party and so on. Or you would go to lunch. Well, actually, you couldn't go to lunch because the restaurants weren't open.
Right.
Okay. And they also kept one pharmacy in the town open in case somebody really needed medicine.
Right. Well, I know that's a law in the States that a pharmacy has to be open 24/7.
Yeah, but in Spain, only one had to stay open during
Right.
siesta. Okay, so I love the idea of siesta. I thought it was just a wonderful idea. It was a social idea. It was a sex idea. It was a lot of good things all rolled into one. So when you're doing siesta and you're having your lunch and it's going from like 1 o'clock to 4:30, somewhere in that period of time, are you ready to eat dinner at 6? No. So
Right.
no restaurant would open till 10 o'clock at night. And,
Wow.
Yeah. And people also would go to work at like 8 o'clock in the morning, work till 1, then come back at 4:30 and go until, say, 8.
Right.
So going to a restaurant it changed the clock for the country. So I hope you
I know
found-
in France, lunch was the big meal of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And dinner was a or supper or whatever they called it was a very small, light dinner.
Right. Right. Which is healthier for you.
Okay, but all your big food was like at lunch.
Right.
You bring out the oysters, and you'd bring out the steaks, and you bring out all of that.
Right.
And so yeah. But you found that probably pretty nice, right?
Yeah, I did.
It made a lot of sense to you, I'm sure.
Sure.
And people are so much more civil in a lot of other countries than here.
Well, they consider us animals here.
Well, we are. We are. We have no couth. We have no class.
No,
We suck, Steve.
we have no culture.
But let's talk about that next time. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Kravitz has joined us. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, folks.
Okay.
Bye.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey there. Okay, Steve Kravitz, the great Steve Kravitz. We love Steve Kravitz. Steve Kravitz is the best. Yeah, he and Bubbles and Durst and even Stephen Pearl, who we haven't talked to in a while. We talk to more people, except we get all these things recorded. I may have to start cutting Phil down to once every other week so that I can get some other interviews in, because he isn't. We can't get him until Thursday anyway, so it wouldn't, I think, disappoint him if we did it every other week. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, here we go. I'm sorry if a lot of you wondered where I was at the very beginning. I started the show off without all the ads and everything because I had a hard time getting on tonight, because all of a sudden my camera went blank. But I think I figured out what it was. But anyway, we solved the problem, so that's all that mattered. And now I have to blow my nose. Wait a minute, let me turn down the mic here. There we go. Okay. I needed that. Okay, let's bring some people waiting actually to get on tonight. I guess everybody's ready to talk their brains off. Anyway, here they come, ladies and gentlemen. Look, there's Jeff, and there's Josh, and there's Charlie, and Alan is somewhere to be found, but there he is. Okay.
I'm having an ice cream. I know you don't like me to eat on the show, so I'll come back.
Go ahead. You can have that. That doesn't
you,
count
sir.
as eating. You don't chomp on that. You know, you don't make lots of noise with it. Hello, everybody. How are you this evening?
Good.
Yeah, I had some trouble getting on tonight. It always happens on Mondays, and suddenly all my cameras went blank, and I had to reboot everything here. But we got on, not as we normally do on the half hour, but after we usually run the spots, it's about 25 of them, we got on time. So,
It's good that it only happens on Mondays. Today's Wednesday.
Wednesday, rather. Okay, I'm giving up. Goodbye, everybody. I'll see you later. Hey, Josh, seeing you on a Monday, on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm off for a few days.
You're off for a few days. Okay, what's the occasion that you're off for a few days?
I have the plague, so I've been banned from my workplace.
Uh-oh.
Wait a minute, you have COVID?
Yeah, me and my wife does too.
Well, that would go without saying, wouldn't it? Because if one of you got it,
pretty
the other
much.
one would get it. Where'd you get it? At work, do you think?
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
But you've got all these shots and everything, right?
Yeah, I had the main vaccines, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then how are you feeling?
I'm okay. I just have really bad congestion. It gives me a headache, kind of bad here and there. Right now it's actually okay, and
Yeah.
I haven't had a fever. I have some cough here and there. I mean, it's pretty mild. I mean, it's been a little strange. I've had really bad fatigue, just like really really tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I went to bed yesterday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was
Wow.
just weird, you know. So, but I mean, I'm okay. So
How
I
do you-
actually went to work today because I didn't know I had it until late today.
And how did you find out you had it?
I took a couple tests here at home. We have a variety that we had collected, and so I took a couple from different manufacturers and all that, and they were all positive. So
Yeah.
and I figured because I have symptoms, and she was positive a couple days ago, like Saturday morning or something like that. So I mean, I pretty much knew it was coming. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I think, am I right, guys? But I think you're the first guy here on our program who has actually come down with COVID.
So did Tony have it?
What?
Didn't Tony have it?
We don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, I went in today actually, and I went to my office and I stayed in there the whole day and didn't really have to talk to anybody, and I got a bunch of stuff done, and then I left and said,
Yeah.
let's come back. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess you're going to be okay. It doesn't sound like you're.
Yeah, it's not. It gets really bad for like an hour or two, and then it's not. You know that it's just.
Yeah.
So far, it's not bad. My wife's was. She's actually still is testing positive, even though it's been like 5 or 6 days or whatever. Hers was so far about the same. It wasn't bad. She got a fever, but not like a really bad one.
Yeah. Anybody else here know anybody that's had COVID?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
umpires. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of my volunteers from Habitat called me this afternoon and said that he probably had been exposed to somebody at church.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people, it's the end of the season where kids are graduating from college and high school and whatever. And so they invite all of their families or whatever to come over, and one person gives the whole shenanigans of it, because a lot of them, they only take like one pill of the thing, and then they don't take the second one and the third one.
Yeah. Well, Josh has had 2 shots, so he should be okay. You know.
Yeah.
And how recent were those shots, by the way?
Last year.
You know, I had one in like August, and then another one right after.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you're supposed to after that.
You should be still safe.
Yeah,
Could've-
I
could've had a
mean, like I said, I have the case, but I mean,
But I'll tell you, after this is over, go out and get your boosters, because you can get it again.
Oh yeah.
You know, ask Jimmy Kimmel. He got it twice in 4 weeks or something.
Hmm.
And I think Stephen Colbert, the same thing happened with him. You had your hand up, Vernon.
Oh, I was just saying I've had 4 shots.
You've had 4 shots. Yeah, I've had the 4.
shots.
I've had the 4 shots too.
No.
Yeah. But you know, we're old farts.
They're finding people that are vaccinated with the first 2 shots but not boosted with Omicron version 2, I guess is what this is, or something. They're finding those people have a higher propensity for long COVID. Hopefully you don't get that, Josh.
Really?
You could be weak and tired for months on end or whatever. So, you know, it's yeah, Alex is right. When you're over this, go get a booster.
If they wanted me to go get a shot every week, I would do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm the same way.
You know, I mean,
Right now it's every 6 months, and you know.
But I'm like you, Alex. I haven't got it. Our family hasn't got it, so it's sort of weird.
And you've been traveling all over the place, Brian.
you've been
I've been trying to get it.
You've been on airplanes and everything.
Cruise ships on the Peachtree ship, Peachtree dish ship.
Oh, Peachtree dish. Yeah, that's what was Marjorie.
Yeah.
What's her name? Said. Yeah.
It's so, you know, Facebook is so funny when there's a gaffe like that. You know, I'm at work. I'm just scrolling on Facebook. All of a sudden, I see this stuff, Peachtree dish. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell happened? And then you go and find out the real news after you see all the memes. You know, so
it's a real Peachtree dish. Yeah. I think it's kind of, you know, I think that we're probably going to find that most people we know get it at one time. I'm just waiting to get it. You know. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm waiting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't go out that much. I haven't taken that many walks.
You definitely don't want it, Alex. I think we're all on edge, waiting to see if we're going to get it. But I think you need to be extra careful, based on age and you know.
Yeah.
Just
Definitely.
people in your age group tend to not survive this thing, and you know.
I won't say that.
Okay, don't say it then. So.
I would just like to recognize Tony's clean haircut, man. You going out
No,
somewhere or what? You got a date or
I
something?
did it because I actually was starting to work out again, and it was getting too bushy and curly, so it was bothering me. So I got a shave. I usually do it for the summer.
Now, Tony, did you have COVID or you don't know?
No, I had it. My mom passed away from it. I have the sheet still when I tested positive.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was tired for like 2 or 3 days.
Well, then I
And
figure,
like Josh, I slept in the afternoon, like he was saying.
sounds
got
to
the
me like
original version.
Josh may have gotten it from you.
Yeah, really.
I mean,
I
I
got
just,
buzz cut.
don't get too close to your camera there, Josh. We
I
don't
don't
want to catch it. You
No
know.
mask.
Uh,
Yeah, our building doesn't wear masks anymore, but the the bigger manufacturing buildings next door and the door down, they still wear masks, and they have to be tested, antigen tests in the morning when they get in or before their shift, and then every once in a while. So Lodi is doing this week is they do a PCR test just to sort of wipe everything out, and so they're going to do that mandatory next week, and then we'll all do PCR tests, and they sort of weed out some of the people, and then they go back to antigen every day. So,
What brand test kit do you guys use at work?
oh, it's the sort of small box thingy.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to make a joke.
No,
Brian.
no, it's
You're
not
the
our-
business.
No, it's not ours. We make too much revenue than to give it away for ourselves. Our stuff's too expensive for our own. Yeah, that's the one.
now, Ray, didn't you say you had COVID?
No, my wife had it very early on there when it first started. So, if I had it, which is a high probability, I just didn't have symptoms because she was in the house super sick for 2 weeks and I didn't stay away from her or anything because we didn't really know what it was.
Wow. A lot of people didn't know what it
So
was.
maybe I did have it, but I didn't have any symptoms. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think I hope I'm safe. I've got all the shots and
You
everything.
got your booster too, don't you?
Yeah, I got both boosters.
Oh, you're good.
And I swallowed a bottle of bleach just to be on the safe side. So. What's with that haircut, Tony? Who gave that to you?
I went to
Ed
my
Grimley?
romance
Did
dad.
Ed Grimley give you that haircut?
Well, I'm going to tell you, my sister was bothering me because it was getting bushy. Your mommy would kill you if she saw your hair like this. So I had to get a haircut. It was it was just getting too itchy, and when I was sweating and all when I was walking around. We were going for our walks, and I said, so I just got a buzz cut Monday. I usually do it for the summer. I get it all off.
No. Well,
His first girlfriend ever requested him to cut his hair.
No, I always cut my hair like this.
yeah. Tony, move your camera down a little bit so we get your full face. There we go.
I don't want to scare you.
See,
too
that's
much.
so much
Hey,
better.
Alex, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah, of course, you got to ask me a question. You're always axing questions.
Yeah, I was in Costco with my sister today. I was getting some. Did the lady who had a crush on you, the actress, was that Selma Blair? She put a biography, and I was reading it in the store.
What?
Or was that Linda? Remember you said the one from The Exorcist? Was it Selma Blair? Or-
No,
Linda Blair.
I went out on a date with Linda Blair once, but
Oh, I got the Blairs confused because I saw.
it was nice. She was a real head turner, so it was.
Oh, head turner.
Oh, I get it. From Exorcist.
I got that one.
Didn't she come?
What?
Didn't she go to one of the Breakfast with Bennett's or something? One of those, right? She went to one of
I'm
those.
trying to remember. Yeah,
She did, 'cause I was at that one. I was at one of those that she went to.
yeah.
brought
Well,
a mouthful
I think
of
that was
pea
when I
soup.
went out on a date with her.
Mm.
Because that was
That
part
her
of it.
daughter
Part of
did
it.
something?
Part of a thing that we had going. That I said that my people were. Oh, hi there, Charlene. She just jumped in. I don't know if I even. How'd you get in? I didn't even see you there. Well, hi.
I don't know. I snuck in.
Anyway, no, with Linda Blair, I had said once we were doing a thing on the air, and it was, what's the thing you hate to admit? And I said that I really would like to go out with Linda Blair. So then it became a joke and became a joke. So finally, when she came to the show, we arranged this whole thing where I went out on a date with her. So. But then over the years, at least having her on by phone and things like that, we kind of became friends,
Yeah.
And
She's still above ground.
oh yeah, she's still above.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She still looks pretty hot, I think, right?
She does
She
look good.
still looks good, and she has devoted most of her
Animals.
life to animals. Yeah, to animals, and that's why I figured she'd like me. But anyway, no, and. I always found her fun and intelligent and so on. The only, I never went out. It's funny. I never went out with any celebrities, to tell you the truth. And the only one that I came close to going out with, because she wanted to go out with me and I wanted to go out with her, but we just didn't live in the same town and could never quite get it together. And then she died. Was
That's Wendy Williams. Wendy O. Williams, right?
no, I didn't.
Oh, I thought it was her because
No.
you told like a story like that.
Marilyn Chambers.
Oh, that's right.
That's
You
the
would
one,
say
yeah.
that.
Yada
Yeah,
yada
you
yada.
wish that
Humming,
Before
humming,
she
humming,
died,
humming.
you wish that you had gone out with her, right?
Well, we had always. She called me and she said, really, I'd like to get together with you. She said, I like you and I'd really like to get to know you better, because we had hung out somewhat in San Francisco and then she had to go, and she called me and she said, really, next time in San Francisco, let's go out on a proper date. And I said, you're on, and then the next thing I know, she's dead.
Oh, that was bad. Yeah, too
Well,
bad.
that's my luck with dates. Don't ever say you want to go out with me, folks. It could cause a
Not
problem.
much chance of that here.
What?
I used to have the after breakup with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
They would end up the next guy they'd get married to.
I've heard of guys like that, right?
Yeah, like four ex-girlfriends. All of a sudden, right after when we separated, all of a sudden the next boyfriend they had, they got married.
The guy married him. Yeah.
Woo!
They
Thank
thought
God I
he
missed
was-
all them.
They thought he was going to be as good as you, Brian.
You're like a marriage fluffer.
Yeah, marriage fluffer. Very good.
I'm writing a stand-up. That's gonna be one. I got like 6 jokes so far. I'm gonna have to add that one.
Well, you're gonna have to get a few more than that to get a tight 20.
I know, but I only started like a few days ago, so I'm just
Okay.
adding like one a day.
Okay.
Gotta go write that down before I forget.
Well, you know what it is? Over my life, I've just ad-libbed some funny lines, but I never wrote them down, so I never had an act.
That's the problem. You got to remember to write it down, or you're gonna forget it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Unless it's a joke that I keep telling over and over, and well, you guys know that, so
I like what you said in the intermission between your last guest, having somebody only twice a month.
Nah.
Well, having Phil on
Phil.
twice a month.
No, twice a month.
Yeah.
He finds his photo club more important. He keeps, so that's good. Just have him on.
Yeah, when he's not doing his photo club, beating up on old men for their
I mean, he doesn't even
photographs.
let me
Yeah.
Just don't cut his pay. Give him the same pay though.
I'm
But it's half the time.
going to bring up something here that a lot of you are going to consider trivial, but then after I kind of explain why I don't consider it trivial, you might agree or disagree with me. But today the big news was there was a verdict in the Amber Heard
Yeah.
Johnny Depp trial. And a lot of people go, oh, you watch that? Ah, it's so trivial, whatever. And yet, after it was over, I looked at Marjorie and I said, this is a fairly important decision here. Because for the longest time, guys have been on the ropes because all they had to do was be accused by a woman, and automatically they lost their job, nobody wanted to have anything to do with them, and they always continually believed the woman. Well, there were some women in this world who took advantage of that and figured they could lie through their teeth and everybody would believe them. And they usually did. A lot of people got hurt by that. So finally, this is a decision which I think now puts not women on notice, but women who would wish to lie on notice. And that it isn't going to just be accepted that the man is guilty of something because you said so.
She's a horrible actress. She
Well,
can't even act.
That has nothing to do with it. Johnny Depp isn't that great either. Okay, but I mean, she was what I think was a horrible person, and what she did, and the feminists out there should be really bothered by it. The Me Too people, is that she trivialized, spousal abuse by lying about it and being caught at it because she was a very bad liar. And so, I don't want this to affect that we don't believe women when they say something, but we shouldn't believe them exclusive of the men who might deny it, and that we should look at it without being prejudiced about it, and just what do you think, Charlene? You're the only woman here. Defend women who lie.
No, I was just thinking in my head that it's kind of like when they put somebody that's innocent in prison. Like that's kind of what she was trying to do to Johnny Depp. Say, "Oh no, it was him, and he's guilty. He's guilty." So it's good that they have this verdict that shows that she was lying and all that, because it does trivialize it. You're right.
But what happens
And
is
other
that
women,
the pendulum really swings on something like this, and for the longest time, the pendulum had swung towards women. That a woman
Right.
could accuse a guy of something, and without a trial, without anything, they would automatically be considered guilty of that because, oh, it's a guy, and we have to believe women above all else. Well, that gave certain women who were liars a license to lie.
Alex, I
And,
don't know.
and that's not good. Yes, I think we should consider the woman, and we should have
I'm
heard.
thinking like Alex. Remember, Lizzie Borden. They didn't believe that because she was a woman, she could take the axe because she wasn't. So she probably did kill her mother and father, but she got off on a thing like she's a woman and she's too weak.
Did she get off? I don't.
Oh
remember.
yeah, that she got.
Yeah.
She never was prosecuted.
What
then-
what do the rest of you people think about what I'm saying? Yes, Alan.
So the women that I know think that she lied on the stand, and they also think that this might be a turning point where some of the courts and industry doesn't believe the women right off the top without more proof.
Well, I mean, also, Johnny
I know what you were saying,
Johnny
I guess.
Depp wasn't in this for the money. He
No.
was in this to get vindicated,
Yes.
and I think today he got vindicated.
Yes.
I think
Trouble is, she can't afford to pay the bill.
Well, I don't.
That's
Quite frankly, I don't think he's going to try and collect it. Okay, I think he's going to take what he's got and leave with it, and hopefully, hope that maybe she tries to pay some of it off, but she doesn't have that kind of money.
And the
Especially
lawyers to get 40% anyway.
Yeah.
and the lawyers, yeah.
I got my
I think he was
I would
just
think
trying to.
that's
Well, no, it all depends. The lawyers don't get 40%.
Not a
Vernon.
judge.
No, if you're paying for your lawyers, they're not working on contingency.
or pro
So
bono.
you
or
so you
something.
get everything. But then they also get a lot too, because now you owe. I mean, how much does Johnny Depp owe his lawyers in this trial? Thing went 6 weeks.
Bunch.
Huh? What were you
I
going to
think
say,
it's
Charlie?
interesting that I
Yeah.
think it's interesting that Johnny Depp sued for 50 million and got 15. She countersued for 100 million and got 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But
And-
she didn't prove her case.
And actually, she doesn't get 2. That 2 is taken off the top of what. If he owes her that, then she does. She only owes him like. I think they said that he only is going to get the in the state of where was this, Georgia, where they did this case, or Arkansas. I'm trying to remember where it was. Maybe it was Arkansas. That there's a law that you can't have the punitive damages be more than something like $350,000, and they gave him $5 million in punitive damages. So really, he's not going to get all that, but he is going to get something like $10 million.
Is that like restitution, Alex? Or-
Well, it's what he sued for as damages to his career, and I honestly.
She defamed him, right?
Yeah.
It was defamation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and I think it did hurt his career for a while.
Yeah,
I think
it did.
this verdict today and the whole case has kind of redeemed him in the eyes of the public, and I think he's highly employable right now. I mean, if I were a movie company, I'd be going after him. You know.
I think he just wanted to work again.
Yeah.
He got kicked off like 3 movies, I think, because of
Yeah,
this.
yeah, he lost. I mean,
Yeah.
if she lost money because she was not in the next Aquaman, maybe she lost $1 million or $2 million. He lost something like 20, 30 million because they didn't do the next Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's one thing after another, and before he couldn't get work. So this is why he did it, and I think he's gonna be getting work out of this now. But I just think it was a very important case from the standpoint that up until now, if you were a guy accused by a woman, you never had a chance, never. And I think this maybe at least turned the tables slightly on that, and that women are going to have to go into court not just saying he did it. They're going to have to go in and say, here's how he did it, when he did it, and make a good case. And especially, unlike Amber Heard, not sound like they're lying. Her case was very flimsy. Yes, Jeff.
I'm not that familiar with the thing that you're talking about, but I think the number of women who are attorneys are much, much higher than has been in the past. I also think that a man or a woman really have to be very honest about what they're saying, or at least very clear about what they're saying. And the attorneys have to add a different level of making these decisions. And of course, the judges are also women now.
Well, I'll tell you, the star of this trial was a woman. It was one of Depp's lawyers, and
isn't he dating her now or something?
No, he wasn't.
What,
No.
Oh, that was just a
No.
What's the world coming to where they're allowing judges to be lawyers? I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I know your wife's a lawyer.
Yeah,
Jeff.
but what I'm saying,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that this woman, I can't remember her name right now offhand,
can't remember her
became a big star out of this trial. I mean, people really paid attention to her.
She's the next F. Lee Bailey.
Can I talk, please? Can I talk, please? Do you mind?
Sorry.
Thank you, Charlie.
Sorry.
She, to begin with, she is gorgeous. Can I say that? And she just is whip smart, and everybody kind of took to her, and enjoyed the fact that she was a really good lawyer. And she was perfect for Depp's defense, because whenever Amber Heard was up there, guess who did the cross-examination on her? This woman. Because it would have looked bad if it was like some male lawyer beating Amber Heard up, but it didn't look terrible for this woman to do it. So she was the perfect lawyer for the case. She was just terrific. But
Camille Vasquez.
huh?
Her name was Camille Vasquez.
You're right, Camille Vasquez, and she was just whip smart, great at doing cross-examination and so on. You didn't watch any of this, did you, Josh?
No.
Yeah, it was an interesting legal case, but today when it was finished, I just said, there is something in this trial that's very important. And the very important part of this trial is that, that finally we're starting to say, well, just because a woman accuses a man of something doesn't make him automatically guilty. And I think that's a very important precedent to have set. And by the way, I've been reading, very few people have been coming out, or women have been coming out and saying, no, this was like a guy beating up on a woman, in court. There was none of that. Most people say, I watched this thing. She was lying, Josh, you were going to say something?
Well, nothing major. I mean, defamation is usually hard to prove and hard to get through. Just the Sarah Palin case recently is another example. She's tried to sue people for defamation, I think, more than once, and each time it gets a hearing, because everything basically gets a hearing, but they pretty much dismiss it, and sort of scold her in the process, like they did this time. And so this case went all the way to a trial, of course, and then so it's fairly rare. I mean, I don't really know what to say about how women handle the way they make their accusations, because that's a tough subject. But maybe it'll have some effect on how it's done. I mean, I guess the lesson might be, if something like that happens to you,
Mm-hmm.
you need to try to contact the authorities, as soon as possible, immediately. I mean, and I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, this happens, all the reasons that women do not, and I'm, on board with that. I'm just saying, if you can, you've got to tell somebody right away, because as time passes and then
Yeah.
these things come out, and then you choose to, like she did, she goes to the Washington Post, and they let her write whatever she wants, and they publish it, which, by the way, is a whole other part of something that you could talk about. I mean, in some ways, what does the Washington Post have allowing her to write an op-ed full of these accusations where she doesn't really have any proof?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a decent question, I guess. I didn't read her op-ed, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm just speaking broadly, but that's probably a question you could ask too, right? But the Washington Post they're reactionary like everyone else, and they're trying to get people to, not just read their newspaper, but, they are pushing something that they sort of have an agenda they're pushing there. And, she was a part of that. So they sort of used her for that. And, that I think that's what played into this case a lot, if I remember right. I didn't watch any of it, but I only know what I could not avoid, via the headlines where I'm standing around and the radio's on in the background or something. So, that's all I really know about it. But overall, those cases are pretty tough. So I'm not sure, but I think it's fairly rare for someone to actually,
Well, you've heard me on this.
Win one of these.
You've heard me on this program, and as far back as Sirius XM, and I think even as far back as Live 105 in San Francisco, I used to complain about the fact that a man could be accused of something and then he can't defend himself. He is just,
well, yeah,
and I think that day has finally come to an end, and I'm happy to see it. I'm glad to see that guys now have an equal chance to prove themselves in a court of law. And I don't want this to be to the detriment of women who truly have spousal abuse cases that are valid. Those shouldn't be dismissed either, but each case should be taken on its own merits, rather than you accuse somebody and automatically he's guilty. That's what bothered me. I felt that if somewhere along the line some woman had accused me of something like that, what? I can't defend myself. What do? The more I deny it, the more guilty I sound.
You hire a lawyer.
Hire a lawyer, yeah. But it was terrible. By the way, to people who may only be hearing part of the show, it's because I just started the audio portion of the show.
Wow.
Well, tonight I had problems starting the show, and so when I came back on, I didn't stop to think that I hadn't turned off our what do you call it? Our audio service, and then turned it on over here and wasn't recording the audio. But I'll go back and probably fix all this after the show. But all the video got on. No, I just think that it's time. I mean, for years I've been griping about this, that I honestly believe that women have not been believed for many a year, and that they deserve to be believed, but not to the detriment of the guy. In other words, every case should be taken as a case on its own. And this jury, I think, listened to this case dispassionately and without airing to celebrity. I mean, immediately after it was over, Amber Heard said, well, he won because he was a celebrity. Well, what is she?
Nothing.
But she's a celebrity.
Right.
She had that celebrity advantage as well. And I would say that he is, I mean, I don't know about you, but he's at a point in his career where I don't think he's really that big a deal anymore,
So as an investigator, I investigated a lot of rape, and some of it was spousal rape.
Yeah.
And a lot of women are embarrassed by it, and don't say anything, early on, when it would be a lot more easy to prove. Sometimes it's years later. and that's unfortunate that they don't feel that they can come forward. But society has kind of made it tough on them. When things have happened. But the flip side, of course, is it really true? Is she pissed at him for some reason, and just wants to get back at him by saying he raped me?
I think that the problem has been over the years is that guys have been abused by their wives and have been abused by women physically, but they're ashamed to talk about it. Just like you say a woman doesn't want to bring it up for one reason or another, men are kind of ashamed of it and won't admit to it. So this becomes I think, a very important thing to remember. Guys are ashamed to say, "Hey, a woman beat me up," or "I let a woman beat me up," and as a guy, I can tell you, I don't hit women. My father told me, "You never hit women." He raised me and said, "You're always polite to women, and you do this to women," and so on and so forth. And oh, there she is.
Yes. This is what you get when you have kids: is the garbage, all the leftover food.
All the leftover food. What is that?
She ate everything she wants to with the ice cream, and she gives me the rest.
Oh, I see. That's very, very thoughtful of her.
Who says it's not going to waste?
Yeah.
That is waste.
But I mean, guys. But
good
anyway,
thought.
but I have had women who have hit me, and been violent towards me.
I need to lock the door.
In
Hold
fact,
on.
there's one of them right now.
Some guy's gonna want to strangle her. Hey! Ow! Excuse me.
This is child abuse, I tell you. It's child abuse.
She's getting big. She's grown.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty soon. He isn't going to be able to turn her upside down like that, But anyway,
did she have any proof in her op-ed? Did anyone read that, or did she basically? I mean, my understanding was her op-ed basically just said I spoke out and everyone gave me a hard time.
yeah, but she didn't name him by name. But,
Okay,
but
I didn't know that.
There is such a thing.
Like I said, I didn't read it.
There is such a thing as secondary defamation. Just because you didn't mention the person, if it can be justly assumed that people
right.
do know who she's talking about, and it's then cost him work because of what she wrote, then it's defamation nonetheless. You can't claim I didn't mention his name.
I mean, and I get that an opinion article is an opinion article, but I sort of see something like that a little different, because you're not really sharing an opinion, you're sharing an experience, and some of their opinion articles are about that. But I don't know, I think that it was odd that they sort of let her make those kind of accusations, I guess, in a newspaper like the Washington Post or whatever.
Well, I can't remember what.
To me, I guess.
I can't remember what newspaper it was in, but
It was in the Washington Post.
But
they've reposted it again today. I have a subscription, and it's on there again today. They've reposted it for you to read again today.
That's where I read it too, Josh.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes they pay for those. I don't know if they pay.
Op-ed, I don't think so. Oh, you mean they pay the writer for
Yeah. They have some people that they pay. But I don't know if you do a one-off for them if they pay. They're probably not. But
well,
I don't know. They might have. I mean, we would never know. But they I mean, like I said, it's reposted today, which I think is odd, considering that I thought it was at the heart of the matter, wasn't it? But I was just on their homepage, and it's like the 5th most top story or something. I mean, I guess so. I'll go back and look here in a second, but I thought that was a little strange. So I'm not really sure how they decided that that was something that they were okay with. I mean, I think that's kind of weird.
Or that they would republish it and maybe You see, and why? I guess the newspaper isn't considered guilty of that because it's an op-ed.
Yeah, probably right. I mean, it would be pretty hard to get a newspaper for something like that, just for allowing it to be published. You know.
See, what's interesting though is that
legally.
she sued over an article that appeared in the London Mail, I think it was, that was written by Johnny's lawyer.
Yeah.
And that I couldn't figure out. Why wasn't she suing Johnny's lawyer? You know, I mean, defamation is defamation. If Johnny's lawyer wrote it, he could be accused of the defamation, right? But she was suing Johnny for the defamation. Like I talked about Mr. Depp like I know him.
That'll be next week.
That'll be next week.
Yeah, the case was in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is right across from D.C.
Oh, okay. All right. Beautiful courtroom, by the way. I don't know if anybody saw it, but it was a gorgeous courtroom. I wish mine looked like that. Mine looked like somebody had barfed all over the place, you know. Typical New York City courthouse, you know. Ugly, dank, dark. And nobody covered mine on the Law and Order Network or whatever that network was that it was on. I was looking at the numbers. There were like 3 million people were watching that channel today.
My sister was glued to that. When we were at Costco, she was telling me she was glued to that whole trial. I don't know if I told you, Alex. My niece took swimming lessons from the lady. What was her name again? For the defense, that woman who came up, the forensics expert. She actually is a swimming coach in Forest Hills. She used to do it for free. I didn't even know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does everybody in Queens talk strange like Tony?
Yes.
No.
No, that's just the slang.
It depends, you know.
I mean, Donald Trump was from Queens, and he doesn't sound like Tony.
Right, right.
I grew up in Queens.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah.
And you don't sound like Tony.
Not really.
No.
Well, I have a distinct.
I could.
I have a
if I
distinct. I
wanted
have a
to.
distinct North Beach accent. So, is there a North Beach accent? I don't think so.
I've never heard of that.
No, I've never heard
Okay,
one.
Alex, there is an Italian North Beach accent.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of New York. My grandparents had it. Well, because they're so the whole what it is the Italians came over and they learned to speak English in New York City, and then they came to San Francisco, and then they talked like that. So my grandmother sounded like she was from New York, and so does a bunch of old Italians, like still in the Mission.
Well, my mother was from New York,
Oh, really?
and I'm sure she probably had some kind of New York accent, but
Yeah.
I never got it. And my father was from Germany, and he had a German accent, which I could never hear, but everybody tells me you could hear it, okay? And I never got that. A lot of times kids will pick up their parents' accents, you know, because they're around the house with, and I didn't get either of those accents. I got whatever this is, which is, you know. Do I sound strange to you, Tony, in any way? Do I
You know, when I
sound
first
do
started
I
listening-
sound regional in any way?
Not answering the question.
No, I was going to get to that. When I first started listening to you on the radio, I knew you weren't from New York because you didn't have the hard accent. So you do. When I was in San Fran, you do sound like you're from California, though, like that. Your tone, to me at least. You didn't have that hard New York accent, is what I'm saying.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Because
me and you talk totally different. I've been here my whole life. That's why.
Because I felt after I was here a while, I got a New York accent.
I don't know. I always felt when I first listened to you, I asked Shecky, he says, I remember messaging him, he says, Alex doesn't sound like a New Yorker. He says, well, you were here in the 70s, but then you left. So it's like
you change axes in between people. I asked Shecky. Can I ask you a question?
Oh, axe. Yeah, he does say
I
that.
know what he means.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, he wants he wants some information, but he wants to kill me first.
Right.
He wants to ask me
you.
a
Yeah,
question.
but you don't have the hard New York accent, is what I'm trying to say. Really?
No, because I wasn't born in New York.
Yeah.
You know, but
I can imagine, like Jeff. How long has it been since you've been out of Queens?
Well, I
Probably
mean, like
30
for
years or
instance,
more.
Charlie, how long you lived in Texas? Most of your
70
life,
years.
right?
Oh, almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Kim
When you listen to me, do I have an accent of any sort?
No, you sound kind of Midwestern to me.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can.
Perfect example. Perfect example, Alex. A friend of mine moved out to Phoenix. My friend Pete, he got married. He called me up. We're staying in touch now. He lost his New York accent totally. When I talk to him, he doesn't sound the same. He's been out of New York like about 15, 20 years. It's gone.
So he got educated when he left New York.
I'll tell you what's infectious.
He's almost as smart as you.
I'll tell you what is infectious.
Just this close.
I'll tell you what is infectious.
Yeah.
My ex-wife Ronnie, when we moved to Texas, she came out of Texas with a Texas accent. That's a very infectious. Am I right, Tony? Charlie? It's a very infectious accent. And
it's not just Texas. I think all through the South it's like that. Because I lived for 3.5 years in Mobile, Alabama, and there's a distinct accent down there too.
Well, I think part of the reason why is that I don't want to say it's a lazy accent because that would be demeaning it, but it is a rather casual. It's a slower, more
you're more laid back, like
laid back.
I think
accent.
in Texas they don't axe as many people.
No, they don't, y'all. Yeah.
They shoot them.
They shoot them, yeah.
I'll tell you, the thing is, somebody once said the most perfect accent in America is the true American accent is the Southern accent.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all.
You know, there's an island in Virginia. I can't remember it, but the name of it. But there are people who live there, are like descendants of people who came over from when Shakespeare's time, and they've hardly left. And if you listen to them, they sound sort of Southern, sort of British. It's really interesting.
Let me ask Kevin. Kevin, did you pay any attention to the Johnny Depp thing at all? At least towards the end here.
No, that's when I kind of bailed out of it.
Oh, you mean
I watched it for a day or two, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got boring to me.
Well, when you heard about the verdict today, how did you feel?
I didn't hear about it till just about an hour ago.
Oh, on this program?
No, it was before that, but
yeah. You know, I just think that it's a more important. It's less trivial than people would like to make it out to be.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess I was more amused at how many people were outside that damn thing, just acting like it was a circus.
Yeah, outside of a Hollywood restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, screaming at him when he was driving away and all that crap. I don't understand that kind of crap, but I guess.
Well, I've never been able to
understand.
I've never been able
making
to understand.
signs and all that stuff.
Charlene, yeah.
Wasn't like, remember Michael Jackson was on trial or something, and he had a spectacle like that.
I think he did.
Actually, yeah, he did.
Well, they all do. I guess people don't have nothing.
Hey,
else.
How about I imagine the O.J. Simpson
They're celebrity
trial?
mongers.
O.J.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a different
too.
situation, though. That was a murder case.
Yeah.
You know.
And he was guilty and got off.
Well, because
Now, how is he? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You live in America, don't you, Alan?
I do.
You believe in the presumption of innocence if you're not proven guilty?
I do.
Then why don't you presume O.J. Simpson innocent?
I don't.
Basically admitted it.
Presume he's innocent.
Yeah.
No, he
Like,
didn't.
did it?
He never admitted it.
No, he
Right.
didn't.
No.
Did it?
No, he never
What
did.
was the book?
He wrote a, "If I did it."
If I did it.
Yeah, and what the premise of the book was, if I did it, this is how I would have done it.
Oh boy.
Okay, but it didn't. He was not admitting to his guilt at all.
Ah.
Yes,
Couldn't
yes.
have left the glove.
And
Guilty.
this is for Alan. You know why he got off? Because your cop, Furman, everything he said was bullshit because he lied on the oath. I'm going to speak nicely to you. So whatever he said, because he planted evidence, got thrown out, and they lost the case because of the cop.
It wasn't my cop. It was in Los Angeles.
Oh, but I mean,
But I agree with you.
and that's
Tony.
why he got off, because he
lied
planted
on the
evidence
stand
and planted evidence.
Yep, absolutely. I truly
there's the
believe
But
great
here,
cops, 'cause
here,
the LA
here,
don't know how to shoot
here's
straight.
the interesting thing is that the two trials in our lifetime that have gotten a lot of following have been OJ and this thing. Okay? And the two couldn't be more dissimilar. One's a murder case, and the other one's just an argument about.
And the Michael Jackson molestation thing was a big.
Yeah, that got a lot of attention.
Yeah, it got a lot of attention. But I don't
The
think they-
Menendez brothers. Remember those?
Yep.
Yeah,
Menendez
that was
brother.
Yeah, but you know they didn't. They're
They
not.
just
In the,
killed their parents.
they
that's
may
all.
be in the top 10, but they're not
Aren't
up
they
there.
saying that they didn't do it now or something? And I don't know. I heard there was like a new thing going on, or that they didn't do it or something. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but
There was the Scott Peterson trial. That was a big deal.
Out here, I think it was out here mainly though, Ray. Scott.
Oh, okay.
Well, you
they
know,
say Scott Peterson might not be guilty either.
yeah, yeah. You've got that problem too. You've got that one, which I think there's a good chance he might not be guilty. But
I agree. I think
Why?
he might not have done it.
Scott Peterson, in case people don't remember, was this very important case back in the San Francisco Bay Area, where Scott Peterson was accused of killing his wife and drowning
And
her in the
unborn
bay,
baby.
And unborn
an
child.
unborn child.
There were
And-
witnesses who saw her running, more than one, when she was supposedly dead in the water.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and the guy is on death
Well, just
row.
check it out.
Their credibility wasn't very good. So, he had
I
never.
know.
He wasn't a fisherman, but he rented a boat that day. And
No,
then
he owned.
Wait a minute. And so anyhow, he took the boat from the middle of California somewhere where he supposedly killed her, and took it out into Richmond. And you can ask Phil a little bit more about it because he is a forensic diver and he dove in the area that she was found. He didn't find her, but he dove in there for some reason. You could talk to him about it. But she, how would they have found her and the baby or the unborn child?
Okay,
in
here
the
we go,
water
hashing
there when
over
they're
a case.
200 miles from where they live?
Okay, first of all, he didn't rent the boat. He owned the boat. He owned the boat, and he did.
Okay.
Did on the
like,
boat.
totally-
Yeah, you're right.
There were also anyway. Just check it out. There's some new evidence. Just check it out, Alan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Send me a link, Ray.
these two cases
Okay.
couldn't be that dissimilar because the OJ case was a murder trial, and this was an ego trial.
I don't think OJ would have got off if it wasn't for Mark Furman lying.
Yeah. Vernon.
Have you guys heard of the Mel Ignato murder trial here in Louisville?
No.
No.
Okay, well, this guy was accused of murdering his former girlfriend in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
He got off on that charge, but he later admitted that he had done it.
Ooh.
And the house that he used to live in was purchased by another family, and during renovations, they found pictures of him torturing her, and he went to trial for perjury and served 9 years in prison for perjury.
Oh, okay.
Well, they couldn't charge him again for murder because that would be double jeopardy.
Right.
So.
But it was really interesting because a very famous lawyer here in town defended him on the first trial, but when he came up the second time, he passed.
My question is, if you're on trial for your life, let's say you're accused of committing murder, aren't you allowed to lie if you want to?
What do you tell your client? Don't tell me.
Well, now that you ask me, I did it, but I don't want to lie. I don't want to perjure myself.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
You don't have to testify.
That's
against
correct.
yourself.
That's correct.
Fifth Amendment.
So in Georgia, murder's illegal. I'm
That's
kidding.
weird.
I'm kidding you, Vernon.
It's funny. Everything else is
Kentucky.
legal.
Come on. I'm in Kentucky, not Georgia.
He's
sorry,
in Kentucky.
Can I ask Alan a question?
You can axe if you wish.
You can axe.
Is Phil really? I can't see Phil has a forensics eyebrows. Can you?
Phil's just a
I
diver.
gotta ask him tomorrow.
What
Really?
is- He's listening to the show right now. He just sent me a text.
No, I mean Phil's
recreational
absolutely
Phil-
a great
Phil
idea for a
swims
scuba
with
diver.
sharks, Tony.
Either that or
Outside-
he's either a
outside
diver.
a cage.
He swims with the
He's
fishes.
either a diver or a flotation device. One or the other.
I mean, the picture behind me is Phil took in the water
I thought he
with
was
his camera. He's not
Not in a
diving
cage,
with the
yeah.
sharks inside a cage. He's out with outside the cage and touching the sharks.
Well, that's a big.
He's
mi-
very-
Tame sharks. They were
He's a
tame
certified
sharks.
Tony. He's a certified forensic diver.
Why? I believe it. I can't. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty.
That's a big misnomer, though. That sharks necessarily will attack you and eat you if they see you not in a shark cage. What? What's that?
What's a shark?
What's that? What's the picture?
It says, "I love you with all my heart."
Isn't that nice?
It says for Alex from Adrian. I'll send it to you.
Wow.
And this is the one from the other night that she wouldn't let me show.
I love you. Oh, that's nice.
Is that me hanging
You
from a
messed up on her
tree?
face.
Getting hung on the tree.
Looks like me hanging from a tree there.
Yeah, that's nice. So the reason why sharks don't eat Phil is he's Jewish.
That's right. Right.
He's got a lot.
They don't eat
And he's
their
got a
own.
lot of gristle. So
Yeah,
you know.
probably.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we've run out of time here. This is amazing.
We do.
Good
And I
little
didn't
show.
fall asleep.
Thanks to Jeff for being here tonight. Thanks to Josh for being here. Absolutely. He'll probably be here tomorrow night too. He's
Take
got
care, Josh.
COVID. He's got COVID.
Oh, he's got
Charlie,
COVID.
thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you,
Sorry, Josh.
Jeff.
Get better soon.
Thank you, Vernon. Thank you very much, Adrian, for being here tonight, and whoever that guy is with you is yeah. Just wave goodbye at you. Boy. She's gonna be lots of trouble when she gets older. Just make sure you have that baseball bat by the door when the guys come to
He's
pick her
already
up
got
for
a
a date.
promise from Phil and I to take care of that.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Josh. Thank you very much, Tony, for being here tonight. Did I say goodnight, Vernon? I did say that. I did say goodnight, Nate. And good night to Ray, and good night to Charlene, and
Good night, John
good
Boy.
night, Kevin. We didn't hear much from you tonight, but tomorrow night, if you call, we'll let you just blabber on. Okay. Anyway, everybody, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. Okay. There they go. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There's another one forming right after this program is over with, over there at the intersection with Jack Bishop. You use Skype and you call Gabnet Live. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her. Okay? Night, everybody.